Hello, hello, hi. So, we were all catching up in the lounge outside, and Arvind specifically told me, after 2 minutes, Narasimha, you leave the panel to us. Let it run free flow. So I'll absolutely do that. But I'll take the first 2 minutes to kind of set some context. I'm absolutely thrilled to moderate this panel. Uh, Obviously, personalization is not new. But I think what is really changing is the raising customer expectations. Customers like you, like me, like all of us in this room. What we're clearly seeing is companies like yours are looking at how do you drive higher engagement, and that's where personalization at scale comes in. Basically, integrating real-time data and crafting highly contextual personalized experience so that companies can drive higher engagement, basically higher conversion rates, increase customer loyalty, drive better marketing efficiencies. I think what we are seeing is, I'm sure you'll agree with me, is specifically financial companies are pretty much on track here, and we're clearly seeing how they're driving better engagement. At MoEngage, we work fairly closely with some of the category leaders across the BFSI segment, whether it is NBFCs, Arvind, for example, with Piramal Capital, or with insurance companies, or with banks, or with securities. What we are learning from the customers in the BFSI space is there are some very strong use cases today. The financial companies are achieving significant results because of these use cases, which is what personalization at scale is helping. I mean, a few I can name is, for example, onboarding and KYC, basically reducing the digital inertia, or a new customer nudge to make the first transaction, return visitors personalization, cross-selling, upselling based on customer tiers. I mean, it may sound like a sponsor message, but just give me 5 seconds here. We work with close to 600 customers in India, not just BFSI, but retail, CPG, travel, hospitality, consumer internet, e-commerce. But the point I'm making is customer expectations seem to be shaped by the digital experiences which they get from various industries. So, traditionally, e-commerce, if I can say this, e-commerce seems to have set the bar in terms of experience, and customers may bring that expectation to every other segment or every other brand or product they're engaging with. I think in this context, I'm absolutely thrilled to have 4 of the leaders from the most significant industry leaders. Anu from Health Insurance, Aditya Birla. NBFCs, Arvind from Piramal Capital, Prasad, Life Insurance, Kotak Life, and of course, Santosh. Santosh is part of co-founder of Socrati, now Merkle Socrati, a pioneering performance marketing agency and also a partner for MoEngage. So thank you. Thanks for joining us. I thought we had 40 minutes, but I see only 26 minutes. Hope something wrong there. So without much ado, let me start off this. Maybe Anu, we could start with you. Health category, right? Driving engagement and personalization. How does it fit in? It'll be nice if you can also want to share some anecdotal examples. Over to you, Anu.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Very interestingly, you just mentioned customer expectation, right? And how we have to change consumer engagement to match up with customer expectations, which have been set by e-commerce. And funnily enough, in health insurance, there is no customer expectation, right? The only engagement typically you would have, all of you have personal health insurances, I'm sure. The only engagement that happens 90 days before renewal date, right? Call aayega, aapko SMS aayega, you promise to pay, and hopefully, the calls won't come. And therefore, I think there was a huge opportunity when we started the entire, the health insurance piece from Aditya Birla, that in an industry which is bereft of consumer engagement, that is bereft of any stickiness, so to speak, right? Where every industry brand has to kind of be on a treadmill every year to kind of, chase the same customer to kind of renew? How do you create engagement there? And what we did was, we said at the end of it, health insurance ideally should be about good health, right? I mean, if my customers are healthy, I spend less on their healthcare and therefore I make more money. And therefore, how do we get consumers to respect that fact, right? And therefore, we started this entire premise of health first. And we've created products where, if you take a health insurance plan with us and you take care of your health for a certain number of days every year, we will give you your premium back, right? So, of course, you have to be committed to your health. Like, I will ask the four of you and I will say, do you think health is important? All four of you will say yes.
I'll also
right?
say I need a lot more health insurance than what I have.
Sorry?
I'll also say I need a lot more health insurance than what I have.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad. I'm so glad to hear that. But, and therefore it gives us a lot of opportunities to engage with the consumer. Our basic premise is if you walk 10,000 steps a day or burn 300 calories a day for X number of days in a year, we will give you your premium back, right? That gives us opportunities to connect with the consumer and engage with the consumer, right? It tells us that, Arvind, hey, listen, you walked 8,000 steps today. You just need to walk 2,000 steps, today to get, you're closer to getting your premium back. And therefore, it gives us the opportunity to create personalized engagement opportunity with each of our consumers, right? And therefore, it creates stickiness for us. And of course, if you're going to get your premium back at the end of the year, you will renew with us, right? Why will you go to any other brand in the market, right? Because at the end of it, of course, we are price sensitive. As a country, we are price sensitive. And therefore, the personalized engagement provides us that sweetener to go to the consumer and say, hey, listen, you walk 300 days in a year, your premium is free, you just have to pay, your GST, etc., etc. I mean, for a price-conscious customer, it doesn't get better than this, really.
Yeah, no, I love it. Arvind, you want to take a shot at it?
I love Anu's story, firstly. Beautiful. Kind of love the spin that she gave on saying, how do you make the whole aspect of health insurance like something that's more tactile? I mean, doesn't feel that, you're looking at it as one of those things, ki mere papa karte the, pata nahi kyun sort of thing. Yeah, right. So similar story. I'll segue a lot into Hindi because that's the heartland, one part of the country that we serve, south of the Vindhyas, of course, but because of the diaspora here, a lot more Hindi. So typically in lending, what tends to happen is you have a product for everyone. लेकिन आप lend सभी को नहीं करोगे, ठीक है? Anyone who's going to walk through the door is not necessarily going to get a lending instrument. Similarly, you might think you're selling them a product, but really you're only a means to what they want to do. And our Karambhumi in Piramal Finance has been about serving the budget population of Bharat. Matlab, if I were to give you an example, this is a Kirana store in Palghar or a dairy farm in Samod in Rajasthan, or a small scale industry with a fireworks manufacturer in Sivakasi. I mean, what have you. Or for that matter, it could even be somebody who is in Karimnagar working for a proprietorship firm, right? Average salary of like whatever, 25-30K tops. अभी इनके पास तो कागज नहीं होते हैं, हम वही कहते हैं ना कि हम कागज से ज़्यादा नियत देखते हैं. So what does that really mean is that these guys don't have the necessary paperwork that is recognized by most financial institutions as saying that, this is what you need to provide for me to be able to hold you credit worthy. But उनकी तो है aspirations, मतलब everybody wants to do something. Even today, when you hear the most incredible stories in this country of resilience, in any field whatsoever, right? So whether it's art or whether it's business or take whatever, it's all coming from the hinterlands of the country. And I think that's where all the action is. And the fact that they do realize and the aspiration is pretty huge, there are not too many people who are servicing them at scale. करते हैं लोग, सभी बोलते हैं कि मतलब, we lend to this population, but to be able to do this in scale is not something that is not very common. Let me put it that way. I wouldn't say most people won't do it. So for us, that is our Karam Bhumi. We do it at scale. वो बाहर बोलने के लिए मतलब for the customer, we have a front-facing kind of proposition, which is on Near. The reason I'm giving you this background is because what is that contextual personalization? And you know, I have a lot of these young kids in our team who have come fresh out of college. Some of you might be there. Like, you know, Kotler Votler to samajh mein aata hoga sab logon ko. So, you know, there is this thing that I think there is a particular chapter that reads Marketing 3.0. अगर हिंदी में समझाना जाए तो मतलब प्रचार से लेकर के आप आपके कस्टमर के साथ में कैसे जुड़ सकते हो कि आप उनके कल्चर के साथ मिक्स हो जाए, राइट? सो यू आर ट्राइंग टू अपलिफ्ट or be a part of their, you know, kind of story. I mean, in a way, that's what we, you know, really try and do. Because again, in lending, very similar to how in insurance, nobody really wants you unless and until unko garaj aa jaye.
Yeah.
ठीक है? And at that time, there is huge transactional anxiety कि यार मुझे चाहिए, right? And we have a customer base who's saying कि यार हमें तो loan कोई देगा ही नहीं. So then the inertia is already very high. So to be able to marry all of that, you may not be able to relegate yourself to a very, how shall I say, storytelling that's at a very overarching level. You got to be hyper personal. You got to be able to predict what could be their next best move. कि वो करेगा क्या आगे जाके? अगर उसने अभी मोटरसाइकिल खरीदी है तो आगे जाकर के मतलब शादी तो कर ही लेगा, right? Or if the lady has kind of taken a small loan to, you know, invest behind a working capital of her business, she's in all likelihood might go and do, pick up something for a home or for something else for the family. I mean, there are ways to predict it. So essentially there are these, so now I'll segue into the stuff that we do on a day-to-day basis, which is all this data and stuff, right? So there are these demog variables, which tells you pretty much where your customer is, what their affluence is, etc. That's one side, and then the second side is behavior. So when you marry the two together, is when you get, hyper personalization. And maybe the only hat tip I want to leave for everyone is when you relegate it down to, let's say कि हम cohort बनाते हैं कि मेरा customer का persona ये है. I think that will be soon gone in some time, because you're not going to be able to, bunch people together into a set of variables and expect that they will behave in a certain manner. So, मतलब contextual personalization की मतलब ही नहीं है. Because then you're basically again trying to bunch them into cohorts, and you're not really getting targeted. So, which is where I think MarTech, plays a major role. If you're able to isolate every individual, and you're able to personalize your scalable model of empathy, for instance, that's the business we are in. And if we are able to context that to every single person who gets in touch with us, that is contextual personalization. And therefore, we'd say, I love this line, it's there on my LinkedIn profile as well. I say we're always in beta. So, sorry, long monologue.
No, I love it.
But this is my limited.
I think, I love the aspect of the life stages you touched on. I have a teenage daughter. I hope you can study her behavior and tell me what she may do next.
वो मेरे लिए out of syllabus है.
So Prasad, life insurance, I mean, that's one category where hand on heart, we all know that we don't have enough of insurance, life insurance. How do you see this whole opportunity?
Yeah, so I completely agree with what Anu and Arvind mentioned, that most of the BFSI products are not exciting products, right? You need to have a need for the same, and for a loan, there is a predefined need that I need money, I need loan. And for health insurance, because the kind of awareness and the COVID wave, what we have seen, people have also started realizing the importance of health insurance now. Now coming to the life insurance, it is still lesser exciting than what a loan or a health insurance would be. And the challenge comes from the perspective of managing that entire funnel, the classic marketing funnel, from awareness to creating that purchase intent. That entire funnel, I'm talking more from the new customer perspective rather than the existing customers. Maintaining that entire funnel from awareness to purchase intent becomes very difficult. For example, if I'm not even thinking about purchasing a life insurance, I'm not even thinking about my death, correct? Or any other risk which life insurance product can fulfill, like the risk of mortality, which is death, the risk of longevity, which is nothing but
Yeah.
outliving your savings kind of a thing. Each and every risk I'm not even thinking about. So first step of any life insurance company starts by educating the prospect or educating the customer. And that's where the entire journey starts. And there's a long gestation period in between the awareness to consider a particular brand, then consider a particular product to fulfill the need, and finally create a purchase intent which a life insurance company can fulfill.
Yeah.
This entire journey with the kind of tools, the personalization which is available today has allowed life insurance companies to manage. Today, the kind of tools which are available can help us do certain things, correct? Somebody who has engaged with my content, correct? We put so many blogs, so many videos on our multiple platforms. Consumers are interacting with those communications, correct? Today I get to know about it, that somebody, though anonymous, has looked into my communication. But tomorrow I can push him down the funnel, help him consider a particular brand, consider a particular product by following up on that particular engagement. That's where the entire personalization comes in. If somebody has started looking into my term insurance products or term insurance category for that matter, then how do I bring him slowly into that purchase intent funnel by helping him visit our website regularly, feed in more information about that particular part. On his repeat visit, I keep talking about the same product or same category what customer had started thinking about. Right? So that entire thing comes into the picture. And once customer has given their contact details, started the purchase journey, the entire purchase intent has got established, I think that is the time when entire chase marketing enables from, because there are so many hindrances, right? Life insurance journey is not that simple. You ask for so much of information. You ask for financial documents.
Yeah.
You ask for medical reports. You ask us to go for a physical medical. Somebody needs to handle the customer to complete that journey. That's why normally it is said that a life insurance is a push product and not that pull product.
Yeah.
Because that there are so many places where customer can drop out. Correct? But all these personalization tools what we have today, and when we talk about a digital business which I manage, where there is no one to handhold the customer in person, it makes a lot of sense to have this chase marketing continuously going on, giving him that sense that this is simpler, easier, and I can do it. DIY. Do it yourself kind of a confidence.
Yeah.
This entire personalization has helped us to deliver to the customer.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. We do face a lot of challenges in it. It's not that it is happening the way we feel it should happen, because still a lot of customers drop out. Our success rate from purchase intent to final purchase can still be somewhere about 3 to 5%. Right?
Yeah.
Because customers can still drop out, and that's where I think the next set of personalization will come in and help the brands to build that customer convenience as good as what most of the e-commerce companies today might be providing to them.
Yeah.
That's how I look at from that personalization in life insurance.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thanks, Prasad. That was very insightful. So, Anu, he touched on some of the challenges too, right? I was curious if you want to share some of the challenges you saw specifically and which your organization overcome in this journey. And maybe Arvind, you could take a shot at that after that.
I think the biggest challenge that we have is changing consumer behavior, right? Because like I mentioned, if you have to, you start off by asking, do you care about your health? Most consumers will say yes.
Yes.
Then you tell them, okay, for that you have to walk 10,000 steps a day for 21 days, and they'll say, oh my God,
Ask
right?
me.
And some of them will drop midway, or some of them will fall off the wagon.
Yeah.
And so I think it's not so much as a MarTech problem as
Yeah.
much as it is how much is enough to push a customer, right?
Yeah.
I mean, for example, if you're hyper personalizing the communication, and you know a customer has done X number of active days, and all of a sudden you're not seeing this consumer engage with you. I think the biggest challenge is to figure out, is it a blip? Has he gone on a holiday, or gone to watch, I don't know, a World Cup match in the US or whatever else, or have they fallen off the wagon completely, right? I think, and therefore, I think the entire testing and the entire, the constant A/B testing that we have to do to figure out what's working, what's not working, the entire regionalization that you have to do, right? Because that has to be done at scale.
Yeah.
Because during Navratris, nobody's walking.
Yeah.
But you do know that they're dancing, right? So can you create contextual communication for that cohort to
Amazing.
still get them to do their their health bit for the day while acknowledging the fact that you have something going on in your life which we appreciate and which we understand. I think that driving the behavioral change for me personally has been very interesting case study, and especially when when people, I do understand that you possibly want a health insurance answer for me, but my the good thing is that I very proudly say that I actually work for a health and wellness company where we sell health insurance. So most of my and because we are driving health outcomes, which eventually helped us in the health insurance business. I think for me personally, the more difficult challenge is always to kind of predict consumer behavior that can derail their health journey, before they kind of, and health means so many things to so many people, right? I mean, for somebody it means a walk in the morning, for somebody it means hitting the gym, for somebody it means sleeping 8 hours a day, for somebody it means eating bhakri for every meal, right? And therefore, how do you personalize the health narrative for each customer to make sense to that customer? Because I don't walk 10,000 steps a day, but I do hit the gym regularly, right? So if a brand sent a communication to me saying, walk 10,000, it's going to completely, be irrelevant, right? So I think the biggest task for us is to find that right communication for the right health intent and to be able to drive it consistently at scale to deliver, numbers for the brand.
I love it. I mean, the Navratri example stuck in my head because I can relate to many other situations like that. And so you need to be culturally so aware, so sensitive to what's happening around you.
Absolutely. Like in the east of the country, if during Durga Puja you tell them, eat nutritious, they'll not look at my email or my push notifications for the next 1 month, right? But you do know, and therefore you create communication. Listen, hey, you're going to be pandal hopping, make sure that, you clock in your steps. So, eat a little healthy while you're having a roll, maybe, not drink the soda or whatever. So those are the kind of, and we have to accept that, we are a pan-India brand, and one size does not fit all. It does not fit all for health, and it definitely does not fit all in terms of, the way you communicate. So I think the regionalization in engagement, the geographical regionalization, the language regionalization is also very, very important to drive better engagement metrics and not be a Bombay brand or not be a English brand, so to speak.
No,
right?
amazing.
The other touch point that I have seen in this space is actually the call center itself, right? That personalization, because here the conversations are little lengthier. If an average handling time is roughly around say 40-50 seconds, you extract a lot of these personalized communication that can be later used. Of course, I'm not saying it has to be more specific to the consumer, but you can understand cohorts as you're talking about and use that, leverage that. And that's something I've seen as success in addition to the traditional digital channels as well.
No, absolutely, and especially in the health insurance space, right? Because a welcome call has to do a complete proof check, right?
Correct.
मतलब आप smoke करते हो नहीं करते हो, drink करते हो नहीं करते हो, all those things we have to check, right? So in that call also, we take so much information about the customer, which then helps us, at a later stage to engage better with them.
No, that's a good point, Santosh. Thanks. You want to add anything, Arvind? Otherwise, I want to go back to Prasad.
Yeah, so I'm not going to repeat a lot of what's being said here, but one thing I certainly want to add is if you look at behavior, right? And let me take an example. जब भी OTT आया था, or rather when connections like 4G started coming in, one big thing that was said is that TV will become irrelevant. लेकिन वो हुआ नहीं है. right? And I think at some point, you know, there are some guys who said that, look, it's going to be, India is going to be a mini screen kind of, you know, country. And it goes back to saying that, so it's very difficult to influence change, right? That's going to happen. People are probably going to add on to what they were doing, or completely pivot if it is life changing, right? So, but otherwise, generally, hota nahi hai. So, in that very context, if you look at how, and we've spoken a whole bunch of things, right? Whole bunch of context. I think it's all gathering towards that one word which is used quite a lot, which is omni-channel.
Yeah.
Right? कि मतलब customer आएगा तो, you know, how do you like really deal with that person for that particular stage at which they've reached out to you for whatever specific need that may be. The big insight that we have is that Bharat will be phygital.
Yeah.
Bharat will never be 100% digital.
Yeah.
Like how Pankaj said, like, you know, it's got to, I've got to be able to make sure that I've got a hands off the wheel kind of, you know, system that I've set up. But at the end of the day, his call center guy is going to do a service to sales or like, you know, an assisted sale kind of mechanism. And that sort of applies anywhere in the funnel, irrespective of how the customers come in. And I think over there, being able to, you know, again, have the right stack of information that you can apply as intelligence. So even let's say taking the call center example, कि बंदे ने अगर दोबारा phone किया है, or you know, the lady has called you back saying that, you know, I have had this interaction. If there is an existing log that kind of tells you, you know, what was the interaction that happened before,
Yeah.
right? And it's again, I'm saying it's all hands on the wheel. It's cloud based. It gives you the exact intelligence. There is a prompter AI engine that tells you what should be your next question that you should ask the customer. That is the sort of intelligence that we need to build. So one is really have the tech stack with you, but the ability to be able to use the tech stack and put all the dots together.
Yeah.
Rightly
I think that's absolutely crucial. And ये एक चीज़ है जो मतलब this can't be taken as a big, you know, audacious goal to kind of say कि यार मैं enterprise wide इसको कर दूँगा.
Yeah.
I will be like this change leader who will do it. वो नहीं होता है.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. Rome wasn't built in a day. So you've got to be able to take use case by use case, take one at a time, and be able to make a change in each one of those. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah. I'll give you one more example. So when we acquired this company called DHFL. Abhi uska loan book is as old as I'm not getting to what happened to them, but if you look at the loan book, right, it's pretty old. Yeah, I mean, look, we've got customers who are what, more than decade old. They don't even know who you are. They probably don't even care, right? But then at some point, usko March में IT report लगेगा. उसको या तो GST file करने के लिए या to give to his employer, whichever way, right? So he will get in touch with you. Now that is an opportunity for you to try to understand a bit more. And this whole thing of omni-channel is again, like, don't let it engulf you in jargon. The thing is, at that very moment, how can you, in a very, very frictional manner, be able to derive the intelligence from the customer that you don't know of, or rather that integrations that you have in place by way of behavior and analytics cannot tell you. So even today in the room, if there is somebody who tells me that, hey, I can get you one more variable, that guy's got my attention when it comes to behavior.
Yeah.
Because it gets you to understand more about the customer without asking them what they need.
Yeah.
And like you said, right, e-commerce, yeah, matlab, you are not being compared vis-a-vis another peer of yours or, you know, another peer of theirs. You are being compared to everything else that this year, Amazon, mere ko 5 minute ke I get my groceries in under 7 minutes.
Yeah.
That is your comparison.
That's
So,
the bar,
you know,
yeah.
there gone are the days where, you know, we have to look at our category peer and say, ye wo kar rahe hain, to hum ye karenge, and like for like comparison chart with a tick and a cross, boss, that doesn't work. So I think the biggest challenge is that you got to take it one by one, bite-sized pieces, and really do the change management within the company.
Yeah.
Now we are quite blessed because, you know, Piramal is a less than 2-year-old company. I mean, our brand is very, very new. A lot of our ecosystem is cloud first.
Yeah.
We had legacy systems, we got rid of everything, right? And which is why even the connectors that we use and the kind of stuff that we are doing right now is great. But we, like I said, we're again in beta because we're saying how can that be even better, right? How can we push the envelope to get even better than where we are right now?
Yeah.
So I think just being able to kind of do that and take them use case by use case is, I think, the way to go.
Yeah.
and it's a constant sort of journey.
Yeah, no, thanks. I think I want to come to Santosh. I think both Anu, you and even Prasad, you spoke about the technology and MarTech stack. I will take it as a hint to go into the MarTech stack needed. So I can't think of anybody better than Santosh. His organization works with various industries. Santosh, what's your view on the MarTech stack, which will, I'm not looking for saying MoEngage is the best, which of course it is, but other than that, right?
So actually, honestly, we've been fairly agnostic of the tech stack. We want to solve the business problem. For example, one of the larger life insurance companies, when they reached out to us, it was more about, selling a product is a lag indicator. There is, I mean, for me to show value for a product that is being sold once in a year or maybe sometimes twice in a year, the lag indicator cannot be the success metric. It has to be a much more, we built something called an engagement counter, which keeps track how engaged the customer is. And we are able to then identify who are the most engaging customers and subsequent. Now engagement is, of course, tools like MoEngage would help us to identify how many people have opened emails, what kind of SMSs are reacting well. But we are tracking this on an individual basis and identifying those cohorts. So the tech stack comes into importance there, where the leading indicators are tracked best, and that is the tech stack that one has to invest in so that you can get this information and then take the next best action with that. See, in these products, there has to be a call. You cannot not make a call, right? There has to be a call. When the call is being made, it has to be very relevant. It has to be identified. You have to identify that consumer is sitting on the website right now, and as a result, I should call right now to be able to make that next best sale to happen. And that's why the tech stack enablement to actually tie these two together. I'm not saying make it omni-channel. I'm just saying make it relevant. Make sure that you're able to track these engagement across all of these channels, whichever you have consumed, and subsequent to that, make that right call, because that call is the one that's going to convert, and that's when we have to be fairly attuned to what the consumer is doing at that point in time, and that's the investment in tech stack. And whatever delivers value, can give you that right indicators, can make it more real time for you, is where the value should be.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be a pretty heterogeneous system, it can be homogeneous, but the idea is how do you track all of these, and that's the success that we could see.
No, I appreciate that. I think I'd love to see if any of you want to add to that. I know not just as from a marketing perspective, each of you are very strong on technology too. So would love to have your perspective. Maybe Prasad, you want to go next.
So today the technology is not a challenge, correct? The way it has got evolved over a period of time, the technology is not a challenge. Delivering a particular communication to a particular customer, I think Arvind also talked about it, there is no cohort and segment now, there is an individual customer. Delivering that personalized message to that individual customer is also quite solvable today with the help of technology. And even one single tool to do everything is also not required today. Because again, technology, the way the entire API architecture has got formed, integrating one tool with other tool is also not a challenge. And as a result, most of the times we end up deploying the solutions or tools basis the use case rather than one single tool doing everything, correct? So technology is not a challenge. Creating the personalized communication to the customer level is not a challenge. The biggest challenge is what he also mentioned about adding more variables into the model, correct? Like I'll give you we discussed about it, right? Just before our session, that every single customer in the same demographic, same life stage, same interest category, they still consume content differently. And I'm not talking about the platform they are using, but their preference for a specific type of content. Like somebody who's rational is approach most of the times. It's a behavioral trait. It's an archetype. I will like the communication which is more data-based, stats-based, with a lot of graphs into it, which will give me more interest towards that particular product or category. Saying that yes, communication delivered in a lot of data will interest me. Whereas somebody else, same demographic, same life stage, same interest, category interest, might not look at the same communication and say, wow, let me just get into it.
Yeah.
Everything is same, but instead of rational, his behavior is more emotional. So somewhere now we need to move beyond what we get today, which is either transactional data or more of a demographic data or more of a interest data. We need to start getting into the capturing more and more behavioral data, my individual preferences over my demographic details. That's where the entire personalization can get to a totally different level. The content creation, the way we deliver the communication will completely change. That's where we need to move into as far as technology and data capture is concerned.
Got it. Anu, Arvind, anything you want to add?
No, absolutely agree. I think we are only limited by the speed with which we can react to the consumer's engagement with us. That's really the biggest challenge. But I think we're finding solutions. We're finding solutions in terms of, for example, in our world, like you rightly said, I mean, somebody reads a blog, somebody engages with us on video content, somebody engages, with an infographic. And for us to be able to, at speed, at scale, and with the right storytelling, to be able to, react fast is, I think, the biggest challenge that we have, right? I mean, as far as we are concerned, because he's right, tech-wise I think we are there.
Yeah.
Tech-wise I think with all the partners and the plug-and-play solutions that we have, I don't think we're limited by technology anymore, which was maybe the case a few years back.
Yeah, can't agree with you more. Yeah, Arvind?
So from a technology standpoint, I'd say that may not be the best idea to be an early adopter, but not the best idea to be a late majority either. You need to be able to know when you need to jump in. So there might be some tech stacks that might be super relevant right now. Use cases bahut kam honge, but then the fact that you could use some kind of judgment and be able to, sort of say that, look, is this the right time to get something in? But don't be too late at it. I think that's the one thing that I've personally experienced, so I'd be a strong advocate of that. And I've seen that work in different businesses in my career. On the whole aspect of, so the reason why we have, a mix of tech stacks. So we've got two kinds of tech stacks, right? So one is a stack that is able to give you personalization at scale, and one that is able to give you more customer variables. You kind of try to marry the two with what you have and also what you can get from other sources. And you try to get better and sharper with every single individual, customer you are trying to reach. In the quest for that, there is two ways to kind of achieve sharpness. When it comes to stuff like your demogs and, like the data that you have readily at hand. So as an example, like let's say in our case, we know KYC is available. There's some amount of bureau data that tells you ki aapne loan kabhi liya tha, your credit score and stuff like that, that's kind of available, right? So being able to scrub some of that to be able to come up with, let's say, one intelligent, very left-brained ki aapko main next ye de dunga is one side. Jo aap kar paoge, and let's say if you've got a few use cases, aapne usko trip management mein dal diya, and you've created like whatever, some 40, 50 of those or 100 of those. I don't know how many we even run. I've lost count. Right? They're all trip journeys. They're running on their own. Next best action, wo khud kar lete hai, and then it delivers it. And I think we do that pretty beautifully right now. And like we're saying, so therefore the technology is no longer a challenge. You should be able to harness it fully across the ecosystem. The second thing is really being able to take some part of behavior, and here is where I think human intelligence kind of comes in, to say how can you predict in a category that is not consumed every day, where you don't have that kind of analytics, to be able to see what the customer could do. So let me give you an example. This is hot off the oven from yesterday. Last night, I think, Akshaya Tritiya is coming up.
Yeah.
All right, and we've got, so we have this massive influencer program that we do. Micro karte, chota karte, we don't do big ones. But we got this lady to do like a full cuisine, Akshaya Tritiya ka. So usme varan bhat se leke sab kuch hai aapka, like, amras and stuff like that. So that's like, one thing that is going on. Contextual comms, let's go into Maharashtra. हमने बोला कि यार, why do we stop at that? कि आप महाराष्ट्र में नहीं हो, but वरण भात तो आप बना सकते हो घर पे, here's the recipe. and saying that if you want to make it even more special, oh, you know, by the way, you could go and buy some gold because it is auspicious. Here's a personal loan that you can take. It's a very soft push. It's not necessarily, you know, in your face, but then it is in some context, and then you know between people who engage with it, not engage with it, what's the kind of behavior. So behavior analytics is twofold. One is what you can buy off the market, and one is what you can derive out of what you can, of the various actions that you take between giving them a hard sell product or a soft sell product like an engagement hook. So I think putting those two together and, you know, marrying the whole thing with the marketing stack is a crucial thing to
Absolutely.
do.
No, absolutely. Thanks. You know, I wish we had more time, you know, but I think we can take a couple of more minutes. Is there anything else, you know, if you want to touch on which we didn't speak about?
Okay, I just, because I know we discussed, and I know it was a question that you had in terms of what is the ROI, right, that you get out of this. So before I tell you a bit of numbers, I want to tell you a story of, I love telling stories, as you must have guessed by now. So we have this, like I mentioned, we have this entire premise that, you know, if you walk 10,000 steps a day, we give you your premium back, right? And it started off as an idea 6 years back. And about a year and a half back, we went back to our customers and we said, let's figure out if, you know, because COVID had happened and, you know, obviously people were not walking, right? I mean, how much can you walk in a 2 BHK, right?
But they were equally paranoid about their health.
Yeah, but they were not walking. They were not walking, right? And so you know, the first reaction when you tell people कि अगर आप 10,000 step चलोगे आपको premium bag मिल जाएगा, वो लोग बोलते हैं health insurance और पैसे वापस देगा. I mean, you know, मैं चलूँगा और मेरे को पैसे वापस मिलेंगे. So we went back and we spoke to a few consumers, etc., and there was a very sweet couple out of Nasik that we met. And this woman tells a story that, you know, हमने COVID के बाद हमने लिया था, and you know, we wanted to get our money back, and we started walking, and walking 10,000 steps takes you about an hour and a half. Right? Typically, it will take you about an hour and a half. And she said, you know, both me and my husband started walking together, and we'd walk sometime in the morning and sometime in the evening. And हमें पैसे तो वापस मिले, but you know, I have to thank Aditya Birla Health Insurance कि हमारी marriage बड़ी अच्छी हो गई. You know, because obviously, if you're walking 1.5 hours with your partner, you of course discuss things and you know, sort out issues, etc. And then we did a campaign out of that, right? We took real customers in our TV commercial and we said, okay, tell us your stories of apne kya piche choda. And of course there are stories of diabetes reversal and weight loss and, you know, better marital relationships, etc. But if I was to, I mean, in terms of hard numbers, what this kind of engagement has delivered for the brand is that almost 6% of our customers don't pay any premium, you know, which is,
They get free insurance.
like it's free. For 6% of our customers, insurance is free. Our, for customers who engage with us and who engage in the right way that, you know, that it is meant to, they fall sick lesser, and therefore, you know, our claim costs are lesser, right? And of course, our what we call in our business persistency, you know, the rate of renewal is much higher for people who've, you know, engaged with us, and because why wouldn't you do it, right? So while, and therefore I think it's important for brands to find a non-financial reason to be able to engage with the consumer, right? Because at the end of it, honestly, we are financial services brand. No consumer wakes up in the morning and says, health insurance के बारे में पढ़ते हैं आज, right? Or loans, right?
But I promise my wife I do it, but I don't do that.
Yeah, but you know, and it's transactional. I mean, they don't wake up in the morning and say, okay, there is no, what shall I say? There is no drama in engaging with us, right? And therefore, it becomes imperative for financial services brand to find an engagement opportunity which helps the consumer think about us when they're not necessarily thinking about financial services, right? I mean, in our case, we help them think about their health, you know, 12 months a year before we go to them and tell them that it's time for renewal, right?
So, well said,
yeah.
absolutely. Thanks a lot. On that note, Prasad, Anu, Arvind, Santosh, thank you very much. Thank you.